Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to week 3 of Advanced Java Programming here at Portland State University. It's good to see you all. Have you guys had a chance to check out the screencasts and lectures and stuff? Sorry, I sort of squeaked one in yesterday evening. It was all about date and time formatting, which is something you're definitely going to need for your Project 3. Actually, if not your Project 2. Well, but probably just Project 3. Before we sort of dive into it tonight, any questions? How did the first project go? Project 1 was due before class tonight. I received actually no questions. It was like one question on the community. I assume this means people found it relatively straightforward. Did you? Okay. Let's see here. Also, have you guys been working on the cones? Because those are due. When are the cones due? Okay, still in a couple weeks. Still got a couple more weeks left for those. I wanted to sort of get back to them tonight. Maybe sort of work through them as a group if time permits. Let's see here. What else? Questions? Anything?
Is there anything other, like those cones, we just answer them so that we get the solution and then just pack it up and send it? We don't have to comment or anything like that?
No, I mean, really, it's sort of a self-guided exercise in learning the language by working with the language. And so then it really, the goal of that one is easy. Just get everything to pass. And so, yeah, so that's it. Okay. Well, I'm thinking. Actually, one more thing before we get started. I'm sort of thinking about the course, and for me, I'm really enjoying doing the lectures at home, and then having time in here to either code in front of you or work with you. But I wanted to get your opinion on how that's working. Granted, I guess we've only had 1 week of sort of, up here listening to me code and you asking questions and stuff like that. For those of you who were either here last week or listened to the screencast, was that effective? Is that something that you want to continue doing? Is there a way that we can make it better? Or do you guys have other ideas about how we should be spending our class time?
I like it just because it's something I've never done in a different class, and I think it's good to go in detail rather than just a few minutes.
Okay.
The whole coding thing, like that.
Cool. Okay.
I find it incredibly useful to be able to kind of pause it and follow along things. That helps me out quite a bit. Although one thing, like the project, would you call it the thing that I didn't turn in last Sunday?
The POA.
Oh, the POA, plan of attack, yeah.
Yeah, it would have been a little helpful if that was written on the syllabus because I didn't look at that. I watched the first, I wasn't here the first night. I watched the first 3 lectures. I thought, I'll watch the last one later, and I didn't watch it till Monday. Maybe things like that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they're on the project assignment down some footnote someplace or whatever it is, but yeah, okay. Well, now you know.
But
yeah.
That being said,
Okay.
It's just really outstanding, very, very helpful.
Okay.
And the resolution later on got a lot better too.
Good. Yeah, that first week I recorded it in one resolution. It was a Camtasia thing I didn't understand how to do. I think I figured it out for the second one, and hopefully I'll get it working this week too. Okay, good. I'm thinking about ways to involve you guys some more during class. I mean, I like the kind of conversation that we were having, but I've got a couple ideas. They're not quite fleshed out yet, so I'm not going to share with you. But I'll think about it over the week and maybe put a couple things up on the group. Because I realized that hey, sitting here listening to me work with code for 3 hours would be kind of boring. I'd also like to get you guys working together. I noticed that at least half of you, if not all of you, have laptops, and so I'm thinking maybe something where it's like we talk a bit as a group for a little bit, and there's a little pair work off, and then coming back, maybe sharing what you've learned. Here again, don't have it all fleshed out yet. Anyway, I'd like to do something like that so that you guys have maybe more of a chance to work with each other and pair up on stuff. So anyway, kind of something I'm thinking about. Let's see here. Okay, so this week the lecture that's up online is all about finishes off our discussion of the core API. So last week, and hopefully what you're working on with your project 2. Is working with files, and I think we walked through those slides pretty quickly last week. I'm not going to walk through slides this week. The remainder of that discussion is a couple other screencasts, is the collections classes. So this is all about objects that group together other objects into lists and sets and maps, which are like hash tables, stuff like that. And then working with dates and times. And so there are standard Java APIs out there for doing that. Let me know after you've had a chance to watch all of the screencasts. Let me know if you have any questions on there. Post something to the Google Plus community. And you're going to need all of that for your project 3. So let's download a copy of that nice and quickly. Okay, that viewable, good deal. Okay, so project 3 is the next phase of your appointment book project. This is worth 10 points. Keeps getting more and more interesting and exciting. So in this assignment, we are building on top of our last project, so now we can save the contents of the appointment book out to a file. But now we're going to add the ability to pretty print the appointment book. So basically making it, printing it out in a format that is readable by a human as opposed to the text file, which is readable by a computer. And really, the goal of this project is to work with Java's facilities for sorting, and then also working with dates and times. So those things that are covered in those 2 lectures. So some new requirements for this project. There are 2 methods in the abstract appointment class that I told you in the first assignment not to worry about. And that's get begin time and get end time. And now it's your turn to worry about them. So get begin time and get end time, if you look at the API documentation, returns a Java util date. So that is an object that represents a date. And right now in the abstract class, those methods are implemented excuse me, to return null. What I want you to do is to now store your dates in your appointment class as Java util dates. And I'd like you to change the implementation of your begin time string and get end time string. Change the implementation of those 2 methods to return the strings formatted using dateformat.short, which is a built-in date format that you'll again see in the screencast. So I get some experience working with dates and times. And there's a new requirement on the appointments stored in your appointment book. So in the previous assignment, there was no specified order. But now I'd like you to order them. And the ordering logic is as follows. It should be sorted, appointments should be sorted chronologically by their beginning time. If you have 2 appointments that start at the same time, they should be sorted chronologically by their end time. Otherwise, sort them lexicographically by their descriptions. And if there are any other ways for them to be the same, or rather, if they don't differ in any other ways, they should be considered to be equal. I would recommend that to make this sorting easier, that you augment your appointment class to implement the Java Line comparable interface, which provides a compare to method that allows you to compare one instance of an appointment to another instance of an appointment. So sort them that way. Oh, and also by implementing comparable, I would recommend that you also use a collection that knows how to sort itself. And well, you can go listen to the slides and find out that cliffhanger. Anyway. So, new requirements for the appointments begin and end times, new requirements for how the appointments are sorted. Finally, there is a new kind of appointment book dumper. Remember, for Project 2, we had an appointment book dumper and an appointment book parser. Now, we'll have another implementation of that same appointment book dumper interface called Pretty Printer. And what it does is it formats, it dumps an appointment book using a nicely formatted textual representation of an appointment book. Up to you to figure out how it looks. It's got to be text-based. And what I'd like you to do is leverage some of Java's text formatting facilities. You see a couple of them in the lecture towards the end. There's also something called the date format class and simple date format that you can use to make your Java dates look nice. Also, your Pretty Printer should include the duration of each appointment in minutes. So a little bit of math there. The command line, now it's in a Project 3 class. All the same functionality as before. Now there is a new option called -pretty. So in addition to your -text file, which was added last time, there's now -pretty. And when dash pretty is present, remember it's an option, it's optional. When it's present, it should pretty print the appointment book to a text file or to standard out. So if the file argument here is dash, then it should print a standard out. Otherwise, it should print it to a file, the file whose name is specified on the command line. Those of you who are familiar with Unix utilities, dash means send standard out. Any questions on that? That usually trips people up. Okay, well, let me know. A couple notes here. You should print the appointment book after the new appointment has been added. So here again, sort of the same logic before. If dash text file is there, read the text file, create an appointment book, create a new appointment based on the command line arguments, add it to the appointment book, and then write it out to a file or pretty print it, depending on what the options are. Another change in requirements. The date and time format is no longer 24-hour time. Now I want to have AM and PM. So this means that instead of being only 2 command line arguments, the date and time is now 3 command line arguments. The first one is the date, the second one is the time and 12-hour time, and then the third one is AM or PM. So we're adding some more functionality. You can imagine, okay, maybe some of the assumptions that you had during Project 2 aren't valid anymore. During Project 3, you got to evolve stuff. Living on the edge. Okay. Error handling, really sort of the same caveats that we always have. Make sure that your program exits gracefully with a nice error message under what seem to be reasonable error conditions, such as something wrong with your command line, something's missing, or the format of the day or time is wrong. One of the things that we'll learn about in the lecture is there's something on date format called lenient, meaning, hey, how strict is it about verifying the format at a time? For this assignment, actually all your assignments, you do not want lenient times, use strict times, so be sure to set lenient defaults. Due in 2 weeks. Any questions? Okay, cool. Okay, let's do some more coding. Actually, I forgot to set the timer, as usual. Because otherwise I'll just keep talking and talking and talking. Okay. Last time, we began an implementation of the, can everybody see that okay? Yeah. Last time, we began an implementation of that simple student project that I've got up. And let's just go back to the assignment here and take a look at it. I'll zoom in a little bit. Whoa, too much. Oh, maybe not too much. Get it centered. Okay. So we had this student class, and we had basically an example command line argument, so that when you run it with arguments like Dave Mail 3.64, those classes, it prints out a string like that. So Dave has a GPA of 3.64, is taking 3 classes, algorithms, operating systems, and Java. He says this class is too much work. Okay, so that's essentially our, that is our specification. And we applied the principles of test-driven development to our code. And so basically when we were thinking about a problem, we wrote a test for it first. Remember there was that 3 phases to test-driven development, that red, green refactor. So, and we watched the cutesy little Uncle Bob video. So, the first thing that you do is you write a unit test and it fails, right? So you say, here's what I expect, and it's not implemented yet, so it's going to fail. Good, that's good to know. You guys remember why it was important to have a failing unit test first?
You know it fails so that when you pass it, you know it's passing.
Right, and that's a very subtle but important thing, because I've done that, where it's like I write the unit test and I'll write the implementation, hey, and everything passes, and it turns out it was like completely bogus because it really wasn't testing what I thought it was testing. So it's important to have that red step and not just like green refactor, okay, I'm still green. So write something that fails, demonstrate to yourself that it fails. So that's red. Green, make it pass. Implement the code that you're testing, implement the logic. Run it again, okay, good, green, you're passing, and then refactor. So go through and make the code better, right? What were some of the examples of the things that we did last time to make the code better?
Consolidating similar arguments or things that we're going to have.
Yep, eliminate duplicate code, right? I think you guys are really good at calling me on that, where I sit there and cut and paste things. It's like, hey, why'd you cut and paste that? Put it in one place. Like, oh yeah, right, yep. Duplicating code, or sorry, eliminating redundant code.
Updating the naming conventions.
Yep, fixing your names. That's really common. As you understand better what it is that you're modeling, what is the behavior should be, encode that in your variable names and your method names, things like that. We also saw a couple of the refactoring tools available in IntelliJ, things like extracting methods. And IntelliJ was smart enough to say, oh, look, you took this chunk of code, turned it into a method. Hey, that same chunk of code appears down here. Do you want to use that same method? So here again, what we were doing is sort of, you get this red, things are failing, green, things are passing, and then you sort of tighten things down, clean things up. There's another part of that Uncle Bob video where he talks about a sushi chef. No, I didn't have anything to drink with dinner. And how, like, when the chef gets all of his ingredients and he's cutting things up and everything like that. But if you look at his work surface, if you look at his tools, they stay as clean as possible. And so, as soon as he's done with making the sushi, it's just you wipe it down and everything's clean. I don't know exactly how well that metaphor works, but I like the ideal of it, right? So it's like you do little things along the way and you're always cleaning up after yourself, because otherwise, it looks like my kitchen at home, right? Where I've made the entire meal and everybody's eating and it's like, oh man, I got 20 minutes to clean everything up. Right, right. Maybe some of you have experienced it, in your own code, where it's like, okay, I spent all night, I got everything to work, and it's like, oh, this is really a mess. Or okay, I just got one more bug to fix. 3 hours later, you're still fixing bugs. I think one of the things about the test-driven development discipline is that it just forces you to keep things, it encourages you to keep things clean, keep things isolated, keep things simple. Okay, cool. Okay, so I want to spend a few minutes and let's see if we can finish off this program. Doesn't seem like there should be too much more to do. So let's review the tests that we have so far. These are tests of the actual command line tool itself, and we're using some methods inherited from this invoke main test case class that I wrote to invoke the main of the test. So let's see here. What do we got for tests? Assert error message, exit code, and usage. Oh, right, okay, that's actually not a test. That's a helper method. Okay, so no argument prints missing arguments to standard error. So we've got tests for no arguments, missing gender, Mr. GPA, missing classes. Oh, okay, this is kind of as far as we got. So missing classes prints nothing to standard error and exits 0. So okay, so here we have a valid command line argument with Dave Mail in 3.65. And nothing's to standard error, so everything's good, and an exit code of 0. Okay, and actually, let me run this again. Let's see here, run, which is, what's that? Option Shift F10. So Option Shift F10. It's telling me to run student test. I want to run everything. It's rebuilding my project. It runs it. Okay, and I've got 4 passing tests, and I've got this test, which is ignored. And this guy is, oh, that's the one that's ignored. I double click on it, it'll go right to it. There you go. And that was example command line from assignment prints the right thing. Ah, right. This is sort of like the end product, right? When we have this thing done, we know we have most of the functionality implemented. Okay, but we're definitely not there, right? Let's unignore that. And run it again, see if that one still fails. Nope, okay, that one's still failing. So I'll undo that there. Oh, I guess one more thing. You might also recall from last time, every time I got the test passing again, I would sort of take a checkpoint by committing it to Git. And last week I was using a local Git repository, meaning that it didn't exist on GitHub or anything, it was just there on my local machine. I decided that, you know what, I want it out there in GitHub for you guys to see, and I guess also to sort of demonstrate and stuff like that. So at home, I went and I essentially uploaded it to GitHub to this Portland State. So under my user account, Portland State Java, summer 2013. Get t-shirts made or something. And it's, let's go back to the top here. And then there's a student directory here. And I can imagine, maybe as we write more code together, we can have different projects in here, good stuff like that. So anyway, this is available for you to check out. Anybody using Git or other version control for your, yeah? How you finding it? Is it making sense? Has it helped you out? Is it, okay. I don't know, I'm just liking it more and more. It's just easy for me to share things, make things visible. Okay. Okay. Okay, so that's where we're at right now. What is the next test that we need to write? Where are we at? Is that a question or stretching or doing some yoga or something? So far all of our tests have sort of been about bad things happen on the command line. I want to start doing some happy things. So like, what's something that works? What's something that's going to have like a system exit of 0?
Some good business domain processes tests, a couple of those.
Yeah, like what would be a good example of that? What would we? How about we take this missing classes prints nothing? Oops. So we talk about how up here it prints nothing to standard error to exit code of 0, but it should print something to standard out, right? I mean, it should print something that looks a little bit like this. So I wonder what it's going to take to get that far. So let's see here. Missing classes prints, well, actually not missing classes. They're not really missing. Could say no classes. Prints description of student. So let's see here. So, okay, so I've invoked my main with those command line arguments. And what can I assert about what's written to standard out? What should I expect there? Oops. Right, okay, so let's see here. Dave has a GPA of 3.64 and is taking 0 classes. Oh, thank you. Grade inflation, don't you know? Oh, and hey, notice as I'm typing, these little blue things and green things are showing up over here. This is IntelliJ telling me that you have made a change that hasn't been committed to version control yet. And so I can click on them, and it'll tell me like what it used to be, right? So I changed 3.64 to 3.65 over here. And I can do things like, this will revert, I think. Or yeah, roll back. This will like show the diff, it'll pop it out on the screen. And what is this going to do? Copy old text. Well, that's kind of neat. Okay, anyway. And the fact that it's green here means that it's new.
Which is the version control tool?
Sorry, what?
Which is the one version control tool you're using?
Git, G-I-T.
GIT.
Yep, Git.
And is it integrated with IntelliJ?
It is, yep. So IntelliJ, when I started up the project, I just didn't see it this week, but when I started up the project, it looks for, there's a directory called .git. When it finds one of those, it's like, oh, hey, it looks like you're using Git. Is that right? And you can tell it, yes, configure it to use Git. And then, well, it does things like, as you're typing, we'll compare it to the file, the version of the file, the contents of the file that's checked into Git, and we'll tell you what the differences are. And then also, as we'll see, once we get things working again, we can we'll commit to Git, and then we can also push off to GitHub, which is the remote repository.
When we install that version of the IntelliJ on our machine, will that Git will be installed or?
No, the Git support for IntelliJ will be. You need to download and install Git separately.
And that is a free?
Yep, it's all free. And and in the screencast. So I have 2 sets of screencasts. I have one which is like the recordings of the class. That's in one playlist on YouTube. And then I have another one which is the lectures and things like that. Well, if you look at sort of the first couple of screencasts in that playlist, they talk about setting up IntelliJ, getting Git loaded and everything like that. Okay, no problem. Yep.
Something I give this important is in order to have private, you have to have a micro account. They sure you can pay for it, but if you just type in like Git free coupon, it'll take you to the page where you can say, all right, if you're a student, we'll send you a student email, and then you get a free micro account, which gives you the proper repositories for your class code.
Okay, that's
Yep.
good. So what is it, micro account?
That's just what they call it.
It's on my screencast.
Something that's on the screencast, right? So yeah, you can have as many like public repositories as you want, but if you want to have private ones, you have to pay, or if you're a student, they'll give you 5 for free, the micro account. Okay.
It pays to be a student.
Yeah, well, ought to. You're already paying to be a student, so. You're, Yeah.
Repository, like if you're working on a big project, I assume that like only one person can, if they're keeping it updated, one person can have one file or whatever at a time. But
No.
I mean, I would assume if
Yep.
everyone's making changes to the same thing at the same time, that does it just like know how to do that?
well, it does, and okay, so yeah, so one of the important services provided by any source control management system worth its salt is dealing with conflicts, meaning that hey, you got some piece of source code, and 2 people have changed changed the same file. And here again, I probably can't do it justice off the top of my head, but the whole idea is that okay, there is some master copy out there, and okay, we each get a check out of it. I make a change to file A, you make a change to file A. I commit mine first. Before the system will allow you to commit yours, it'll say, oh wait, this other guy also changed it. You usually find out when you go and pull or update, depending on the terminology. You get the stuff from the master repository. And if you change different parts of the same file, it's like, okay, well, that's cool. It won't be a conflict. But if you change it the same line, it'll tell you. And, tools like IntelliJ are really good at helping you resolve the conflicts and things like that. That being said, it's rarely easy. And I think one of the things that certainly I've learned professionally is that you want to commit and push often, and then you also want to pull often. You want to get other people's changes in as quickly as possible. There's nothing worse than working off on your own for like a month, getting all your stuff working, pulling down everybody else's changes, and found out that, oh my gosh, everything's changed out from underneath you. All these APIs they used to use are different and stuff like that. So it's really just a communication thing. But anyway, okay, enough said. Okay, back to our example. We expect that, okay, when you invoke main with those 3 command line arguments, you get Dave has a GPA of 3.4, is taking 0 classes, and of course he says this class is too much work. Heavy sigh. Okay. Ugh, I'm going to split that up over 2 lines. There we go. Okay. Okay, so now we'll run it. No, I'm red. Ah, okay. Now what? Well, I wonder, so there might be a school of thought that says all I need to do is, is the following. I could say something lame. Actually, here again. I could just do the following, right? I could say if we've got 3 command line arguments, we're all set, and, system.out.println. Oops, what didn't it like? Oh, totally. I think there's like yeah, 2 lines over here. I didn't account for the new line at the end. Let's use contain string instead. Sorry, did everybody follow what I did there? What happened there? I basically I said I did print line in my main. It put a new line at the end, and it captured it in the get out. Well, I don't, new lines, blah, blah, blah. Actually, how would I do that? I could do that, or I could just say .trim. That would remove leading and trailing white space. Yay, it passed. Lame. Yeah.
Can you expand the font?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Maybe I can. Oops, no, that's not that it. How's that? Is that better? Okay. Student big also. Yeah, looks like big enough. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Well, gee, I just made it pass. Ha ha ha. But we were a really dumb solution. But it's kind of a school of thought thing. Hey, I'm so proud of myself. I made it pass. Actually, I made it pass. So if I was a TDD purist, I'd say, hey, good for me. I would go and I would commit my changes. Let's just do that. Oops, was inversioned. I have no idea what the hell that is. Yeah, delete that. And I can say, print the description of Dave to standard output in the lamest way possible. I'm just going to commit that to my local repository because I don't want anybody to see that. 3 warnings. Oh yeah, these are our old 3 warnings from last time. Let's take a review of them real quick. I have these 3 unused parameters. That'll be a clue for what we do next. But anyway, I'll just go ahead and commit these. Okay, so what's the next test that I should run? That'll fail?
Maybe you can change the name.
Yeah, I like that. So I'm just going to duplicate this. Oh, I duplicated it with Command D. So no classes prints a description of a student with a different name. What should the name of my other student be? David. Oh, there you go. That should be David has a GPA. Now if I go and I run it again, Option Shift, yeah, do the whole thing. Ah, okay, good. See the difference? David, Dave. Okay, I gotta do it for real this time. Okay, wow. What do I need to do? Where do I need to go from here? Where's my main method? What was that? Right. I mean, I had hard coded this in mainly for the sake of demonstration and being a dork here, but yeah, now I need to do something else. This is like all this method here, this main method, and the print error message. I mean, this is like all of the class that I've written so far. And actually, this is kind of an interesting lesson, right? At the beginning of TDD, you're writing a lot more test code than you are code being tested. I think it's time though that we take a good look at this code and figure out what we want to do. So, what do we want to do here? We're not really parsing our command line as much as we are validating our command line here. So we need to, I think we need to reconsider all of this. So I think ultimately what we want to do is the following. We want to have a student object which is created from the command line arguments. So okay, here are the arguments. So we need a name, we need classes, we need a GPA, and we need a gender. Okay, so let's create all these guys. I don't want them to be fields. I want them to be variables, and I guess it's not letting me do that. So I'm going to say string name. I'm going to get that from the command line eventually. Sorry, array list classes. Oops. IntelliJ has spell checking, which is nice, so that you have code that you can understand. Double GPA equals 0.0 and string gender equals null. Okay, now I got my code compiling, and then ultimately, what do I want to do? I want to do something like system.out.println student toString. Right? I'm pretty sure that's what I want to do. Because the toString method, yeah, prints a string that describes the student. Okay, well, so I've got this much. Ooh, I've got an idea. Okay, so I don't need this code anymore, but just for the sake of, I'm kind of starting to refactor here. So I'm going to go a little red-green refactor on us here, and I'm going to implement my toString method instead of throwing on unsupported operation exception, which I guess I could do. I could run the test first. I'm going to have a return this. So I've done a little bit of, done a little bit of code change. Wrong. Done a little bit of code change. Let's try running the test again and see what happens. I expect it to sort of do the same thing. Okay, good. So that all works the same. So I think student.toString is okay. You know what? I'm thinking about GPA right now. It reminds me of a test that we haven't written yet. We haven't tested the an invalid GPA. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write a quick test, public void, invalid double for GPA does what? What should it do? Print error message? Well, let's see here. Prints nothing. Missing GPA. Prints invalid GPA to standard error. Let's not implement this one quite yet because my train of thought was elsewhere, but maybe I've lost my train of thought. I'm distracted now, yeah. Because this command line parsing just isn't right? It seems just like really, it should be more complex. Okay, so how do I get, well, wait a second, you guys must have done some command line parsing for your project. Help me out here. How do we, what do we need to do to parse the command line? What did you guys do to parse the command line in your projects? Well, we haven't written mine yet, so it might just be just as ugly.
I once I got far enough in, I reverted to a switch.
Ah, okay.
It cleaned it up, made it look a little pretty, but
Okay, so like what would that look like here?
it fixed the arg length,
Mm-hmm.
and then
Oh, you switched on the args.length. That's cool. Well, let's give that a try. Okay. Okay, well, so let's see here. So let's see here. Here is where I declare all my variables, and so I'll switch on args.length. Case 1. So basically like this logic up here?
yeah.
Okay. So let's just move this stuff down there. That's a good idea. So case 1, do that. Break. Oops.
And actually, what I did was so that he knew everything was missing. I just had just a falter,
Mm-hmm.
and it would keep adding whatever else they missed.
Oh, that's a good idea. Although I think we kind of get that with the when we print out the usage message.
It would change your test, so
Oh, yeah. Let's see here. Oh, and let's just put case 0 first. Okay, refactor. Oh, I gotta remember to break. Or maybe I should let the test fail, but Okay. Done some refactoring. Okay, this is good. It's complaining about something.
Yeah. Next. Then
What do I have?
you have an extra bracket.
Oops, so I do. Thank you. Awesome. Okay, good, nice and happy. Let's run the test again. Okay, well, still all the same stuff was passing. So getting a little bit closer, maybe. But okay, so I'm not really filling in yet. Oh, okay, but we can do that, right? Okay, so okay. So this is case 3. When there are 3 command line arguments, what do we do? Well, actually, we don't need. Do we need to do it in the case? Yeah, you can do it in the case. So name is arg0. Yep. Okay, array list. Wait, what's okay? I'm forgetting the command line arguments here. Let's go back to the thing. So what's first? Name, gender, GPA classes. The rest of them. Okay. Yeah.
The messages I don't think is totally right.
Nope.
In case of case 1, we are missing more than gender. We are also missing GPA and so on. And then we do not know whether we are really missing GPA or anything.
That's a good point. I think we'll tell the user that because
So in case of case 1, we are missing at least missing gender, missing GPA, and anything 4th one, and then we continue to reduce that 4, 3, 2, 1.
that's true. And so do I have? I guess I don't have the output here. When we print that error message and exit, we print out not only the missing gender, but then we also print out this big old ugly usage message telling what the args are. So I think we're okay there.
Okay.
But you're right. I mean, in your program, it would be correct to say that you're missing more than one. Good point. Okay. So name is arg0. Gender is args1. GPA is args2. Oops. And what doesn't it like? All right, GPA is a double, and we want a string. How do you convert a string to a double? Anybody remember? Cast? Can you? Nope. Did you guys deal with integers in your appointment book? Probably not yet. Well, okay, I'll give it away. There's a static method on double called parse double. Okay. It does that. Okay. And the timer's up. Okay. Let's give it a couple more minutes. What do we got? Okay, we got to do. Oh, and then the rest of the command line arguments are the classes. You know what? My test doesn't have. It just doesn't have classes yet. I'm not going to worry about it right now. Okay. Okay. Cool. So now I've got name, I've got gender and GPA. I'm going to run my tests one more time, see if I broke anything. Nope. Looks about the same as before. Okay. So now I have my name and my, I create my student with that information. I call toString. And my toString's like baked, half baked. This is not what I should be printing here, right? So let me make it big so we can see the whole thing. What should I print here instead?
Name plus, and then has a GPA, so name outside of the quotes.
Right. So like name plus has a GPA of GPA and is taking, well, 0 classes for right now, and then he says this class is too much work. You know what should really do is you should say instead of this class is too much work, we should call that says method. Oh, check this out. Sorry. I'm just going to. And. Oops. I think that's more in the spirit of the assignment. We really can't say either way. Okay, it's complaining about GPA. Can't find a symbol. What's name from? Oh, this is inherited from that animal class. Okay. So GPA. Okay, yeah, I don't have anything called a GPA here. So I'm going to create a, well, it ought to be a field, right? And it's going to be a double. Okay. Okay, everything's compiling. Let's run the tests again. Oh, something broke here. Okay, wow. We're kind of in the middle of things, but you know what? It's been a while. You want to take a little break? Okay, 10 minutes. Let's go off and think about what's wrong right now, what we need to do next, and then we'll come back and finish it off. Let's start up again at 7 o'clock.